The last remaining piece of the Celtics 2008 championship team is reportedly on his way to Dallas. Multiple media reports say Rajon Rondo will be traded to the Mavericks for a package that includes Brandon Wright as well as 2 draft picks. ESPN, the first to report that Rondo leaves Boston after 8+ seasons with the Celtics as Boston continues its rebuild with a whole slew of young players and a veteran and now some more access to draft picks. A very busy Thursday here on NBA TV. We welcome you to a 60-minute edition of Game Time. Later, we promise we'll talk about this 4-game night in the association, including TNT's doubleheader. But first, with an all-star champion, Steve Smith, I'm Jared Greenberg. It's been a wild week, and no doubt about it that we've sort of hit the ultimate here. Finally, trade season has begun.
Yeah, it has, and you get a chance to see right now as teams are starting to make that move, and the Boston Celtics and Dallas Mavericks, they come up with a big one. And you look on the Dallas side, you add a Rondo, a guy who just knows how to play. I think he'll fit right in a perfect spot for him. And on the Boston side, Danny Ainge gathered a lot of pieces and some players that can really play. Now you start to see what's the negative I look for Dallas Mavericks. I'm still concerned about now their bench because I really thought this was a deep team, still have some talent, but without some of those pieces, we shall see.
Well, the rumors really started to heat up about 24 hours ago. A lot of teams seem to be involved talking to Danny Ainge. Do you feel like he got the best possible package? As I mentioned, they're trying to rebuild and get back to that championship tradition they're used to playing with.
Well, you're right, Jared. I mean, there were so many options out there that we hear as the media, and we also get a chance to hear from our friends. But when you start to look at the deal that's really offered and what he got back, we can't compare because we don't know exactly. But if I'm the Boston Celtics, losing to Rondo is tough. But when you start to talk about Jay Crowder, Jameer Nelson, and Brandon Wright, and some picks, even when you were probably going to lose him anyway, Danny Ainge did a good job.
All right, we will continue to talk about this as well as all of the games going on tonight. A very busy night around the NBA. And tonight it'll be in Chicago. Charles Barkley leaving us here in the studio to call the Knicks and Bulls. And Charles, let's right off the bat here get your reaction to Rajon Rondo leaving the Celtics and headed to Dallas.
Well, I think it's going to be interesting, him going to Dallas. He's a terrific player. Dallas is going for it. And, you know, I do agree with Smith. They weakened their bench a little bit. But this is probably going to be a win-win for both teams because the Celtics were not going to re-sign Rondo. Brandon Wright's a good player. I like Jay Crowder. Jameer's obviously is a good, solid backup. And you don't know what the draft picks are going to be. But to me, this looks like a win-win trade for both teams. And Dallas is going for it, man. Mark Cuban, Donnie Nelson, those guys, they are trying to win the championship one more time for Dirk before he hangs it up.
Charles, the Mavs have been the best offensive team in basketball. However, they have struggled at times on the defensive end. How does Rondo help improve the backcourt for the Mavericks in terms of stopping the opponent?
Well, he's a very good defender. He's got long arms. He's very rangy on the defensive end. Probably one of the top steal guys in the NBA. You know, he's been banged up a lot lately, but when he's healthy, man, he's one of those guys who's going to be great defensively for Rick Carlisle.
Chuck, I just wanted to ask you a question. Totally agree when you start talking about the Dallas Mavericks and Mark Cuban, these guys going for it. My question will be is when Rondo with the basketball dominating his hands, will this hurt Monte Ellis or you think this was going to help him?
Well, Monte has played great for the Mavs the last year and a half. I think that's going to be the interesting dynamic of this trade. But Monte's played the 2 position, a lot in his career. Listen, anytime you can add an all-star to your team, it's going to help in the long run. I tell you what, though, I actually thought when I looked at those 2 trades, I think the whole state of Texas got lucky because if Rondo had went to Houston, I thought Rondo – and I thought they should have traded last year when they had a chance to trade Chandler Parsons for Rondo. Listen, you give me Dwight Howard, James Harden, and Rondo, you talk about a big 3. So I think a lot of teams got let off the hook with Rondo going to Dallas.
Chuck, and you talked about it and I talked about it. I love the trade for Rondo going to Dallas and the starting 5. Could match it with any starting 5, but is this going to hurt them as far as what they had coming off the bench? Can they do it with now the bench play they have, which they took away 2 or 3 players?
Well, it's definitely going to affect their bench. I mean, but listen, man, the Mavs are going for it. And let me tell you something. it's a win for them because they don't have to pay Rondo at the end of the season if it doesn't work. You know, they're going forward this year. If he plays great or plays poorly or they win the championship or not, you know, listen, they gave up some players, but they didn't. They gave away some depth, but they didn't really give away like an all-star type players, and they got an all-star in return.
What about Rondo's personality? How do you think that blends with the Dallas locker room?
You know what? Listen, when if you can't get along with Dirk Nowitzki, and Mark Cuban, you know, Rick Carlisle, he's a terrific coach. But listen, if you can't get along with Dirk Nowitzki and Mark Cuban, there's something wrong with you. I think Rondo will be fine. I think it probably was very frustrating for him the last couple of years because they're obviously in a rebuilding mode, and they were not going to re-sign him. Guys, I wish you guys could look in the stands behind me. We got a New York Knicks fan next to a Michigan fan. You talk about two losers. They sitting over here in the stands. This guy's got a Michigan shirt. They're awful, and the guy with him has got a New York Knicks basketball. Can you believe those two guys sitting together?
Well, it could be a Tim Hardaway fan too. That might be where that comes from. Chuck, you mentioned the Knicks. That is why you are actually in Chicago, because there is a basketball game tonight, and I know Rondo and Danny Ainge have given you something to talk about to distract you from this game, but no Derrick Rose, no Carmelo Anthony tonight. Why don't you set the table for a great one for us tonight between Chicago and New York?
Well, let me tell you this. You know, we just did the coaches' interviews, and I'm going to tell you something, man. This Chicago Bulls team, they're my preseason favorite to win the Eastern Conference. If they could ever get healthy, they can play with anybody in the NBA. The key is Noah getting healthy, and obviously Derrick Rose. They got everything. They got everything. They're the team to beat in the Eastern Conference. Hey, the Knicks, at least they get to go back to New York and have fun up there because they're not worth watching on the basketball court.
Well, Chuck, we hope that a lot of people stay with us and watch on TNT tonight at 8 o'clock and get your take as you continue to talk about this game. Yes, sir.
Hey, Jared.
Yeah.
Why did y'all – wait a minute. So let me get this straight. If y'all had told me Nicki Minaj was going to be in the studio, I wouldn't have taken this thing.
Well, you don't understand. Nicki wouldn't come if you were – Nicki wasn't going to come. Nicki
Chuck,
wasn't going to come if you were
They got you, Chuck. They got
really?
you. They got you.
Kenny Smith Productions.
Man, when I heard Nicki Minaj was going to be in the studio tonight, I was one pissed off brother. I ain't going to lie. Because she's somebody who's very talented I'd like to meet.
I'll text you some pictures, Chuck. Don't worry about it. I got you covered.
No, please do. Please do. Text me some pictures.